Hello, welcome back to Mana Potion Tabletop, and today I'm going to teach you the art of the deal, the art of the steal. So, non-specific conventions related to nerd stuff. You might have gone to one or two of them, and you might notice there's quite a bit of D&D stuff there, quite a bit of miniature stuff. Now, did you know you can buy those things? Now, I am going to rate all of the non-hobby conventions that I've gone to. So PAX, Comic-Con, Anime NYC, and all of that. I'll explain what you can get at each and which one you should go to depending on who you are. We'll also be discussing some of my ludicrous purchases that I made at these conventions. Now, in terms of worst to best conventions that you could go for, if you want to look for miniatures, model kits, paints, dice, etc., probably the worst is Comic-Con. This is by far the most prohibitively expensive convention I've ever gone to, and to be honest, I haven't really enjoyed it either time I've gone. Excuse me for being a little bit of an elitist nerd here, but it's very corporate. Now, you're going to get a couple of things there. You're going to get plenty of D&D stuff, and you'll see a lot of the same booths at other conventions, and you might be able to get a better deal somewhere else. Now, I went to New York Comic-Con. If you guys don't know, New York City is the most expensive city on planet Earth, so as a result, everything is expensive. Now, there's stuff like dice, but they're not particularly interesting, and if you got a plastic pair, then they're definitely not interesting. However, I should tell you that most of the places selling dice probably get them from like a proprietor of like, like a middleman. So AliExpress, or maybe they work with Chessex to produce dice of a specific type and variety. Very rarely are they made actually by hand, but there are plenty of people out there like that. If you've ever gone to your local Renaissance fair, you might even be able to meet the smiths that do it. But I'd say kind of cross that off the table if you're going there. Look around for anime stores or perhaps miniature stores that are there inside the marketplace. So this is a Patlabor model, and you might notice that it is technically not a Gundam. Now, I had always really wanted one of these. I'm really interested in this idea of mechs in non-military roles, and a mech that's more in a SWAT form really appeals to me. Now, this was retailing at the place that I went to at Comic-Con for $60. Now, it could vary. I've seen it online for $70 or $60, but because I'm there in person, and usually what's happening is that they're trying to get rid of stock that they have at their anime store, I was able to haggle. So I took away a $10 off from this guy, so I got him for $50, which is definitely not bad. And that's kind of the thing here. You gotta be wanting to do the art of the deal, especially at a place like Comic-Con that is very much about spending money on stuff. Now, you've actually seen some of these other ones in other videos before, but now I'm going to point them out specifically. But these I purchased from the Gundam convention or little booth that they had at Comic-Con. So you've seen these guys in some of the B-roll on the channel before, and looking at them, they probably look like a model kit, like a really nice one. So what are they specifically? These are actually action figures. These are the first really high-end action figures I've ever bought. I bought these by accident at Comic-Con, so whoops. Now, because this was a big corporate booth at a convention, you're not going to be able to get those amazing deals that you'd get at something like a mom and pop shop that's opened up a booth inside the convention. So these guys I had to buy for their retail price, but they weren't being price gouged to something that they're not supposed to be. You're going to be paying retail, but the lucky part of it is that, well, maybe you'll be able to buy something that you wouldn't be able to buy somewhere else. I have that weird anime girl from Gundam that you've seen in other videos, and she was a Gundam base exclusive that I was able to get at Comic-Con simply because she was the only one that was left. Now, these guys specifically are from a line called Robot Spirits. Can you tell that I just looked it up? I had trouble figuring out what these guys were for a minute. Now, you might be wondering, Diesel, how'd you accidentally buy action figures instead of, model kits? Well, the reason I accidentally picked these up is because they were in brown boxes. They weren't labeled, and the only labeling was in Japanese, so I had no idea what the heck these things were when I purchased them. I think they were about $40 a pop, by the way, for these guys. I don't know if that's traditionally retail for this stuff. I've looked around at the Tamashii Nation, which is like they do the fancy figurine stuff with Bandai. And I've seen some incredibly insane prices for these action figures, but I did pay 40 bucks for each of these. I don't know if they're getting rid of stock or what, but these guys come with tons of stuff, and they're really like detailed, and they have really small little marks that show off, you know, just different details about the Gundam. It's definitely kind of cruddy that they're not, you know, models. I didn't get the chance to build them, but they're very posable, and they're twice as heavy as any high-grade model kit, so they feel really sturdy and nice in the hand. I know some anime figures can get a little bit flimsy or feel a little cheap. These feel incredibly premium. They're made of this really thick plastic that just has a really nice feel in the hands. These definitely are not something that I would say you should be your first pickup, but these are really great for what they are, and they look great on camera. Overall, out of all the cons shopping for hobby stuff, I'd say that Comic-Con is definitely the worst. So if you're going into Comic-Con, definitely go in with a haggler's mindset in mind. Spend some time in the artist alley and try to support smaller businesses that are producing something boutique rather than going to one of the big guys. You're really not going to get any good deals here, so you're more better off trying to find art prints from something you enjoy, or picking up some little odds and ends that you wouldn't be able to pick up in your hometown. I really wouldn't go out of my way to try and pick up something super grand here, because there's a super high chance that you're going to get price gouged. Not everybody is looking to haggle, and that's okay, but definitely try it out if you haven't before. Hey man, this is the art of the deal. They're there to do business, and a majority of the time those people want to offload all that inventory onto your nerdy little hands. Next was Anime NYC, and we'll spend significantly more time talking about this one because it has a very close tie to the hobby of gunpla and model making. Now, most of the model kits that you buy come from some Japanese company usually. Obviously, Gunpla is a big one. Tamiya produces military model kits, modeling tools, and they are from Japan as well. Now, Anime NYC, again, was in New York City, so it is significantly more expensive than anything has any right to be. However, I will say this, the atmosphere at Anime NYC is absolutely amazing. It has a much better atmosphere than Comic-Con, and overall is a much better of a time. Even if you're someone who's not entirely into anime, there's definitely going to be non-anime stuff there that you can pick up, look at, try out, games, whatever, or get some weird niche import items that you wouldn't be able to get elsewhere. The real joy of Anime NYC, though, is the people. The community is super, super party friendly. Everybody's really having a great time there. It doesn't feel as corporatized as Comic-Con has become. It's a lot more of an inviting atmosphere, and if there was a New York convention that I'd say you should go to, well, it's Anime NYC or whatever city you have that is the equivalent of that. There's going to be tons of really cool people there. You'll be able to play board games just like any other big convention. You're going to be able to sit down and try the stuff out. Which, by the way, there's also like anime-themed board games. There's like one with like schoolgirl battles. How would you guys feel about a board game review in the future? Because this stuff is really interesting. But there's tons of stuff like that. Not to mention there's open tournaments for Magic the Gathering and various other card games, especially Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon at these tournaments, which if you haven't gone to one of those, you should try it out. But that's not why we went to Anime NYC. Now, I've built a couple of these guys, and I'll show you the built ones before I show you the hilariously bad purchases I made. So as you can see, we got a couple of little guys here that have been built, mainly because the pile is getting a little bit ridiculous. Now, at Anime NYC, they have the big Gundam base. Now, if you go to Japan, there is a bigger Gundam base, but as far as America goes, this is as big as it's gonna get. There was a ginormous Gundam statue, tons of Gundam stuff, and a line around this huge booth. Now, again, you're not gonna be able to haggle at one of these things. In fact, the prices are pretty much retail to whatever you buy, but it's pretty much all P Bandai there. If you don't know and you're unfamiliar with this, P Bandai stands for Premium Bandai. So think of Secret Lair from Magic the Gathering, where they sell like a limited run of a certain card, and then that's it. You have to put in a pre-order in advance, otherwise you don't get it. And usually it's stuff that doesn't come around very often or is much more niche. Or if we're talking like Warhammer, it's more like the commemorative series, so those miniatures that only show up during certain times of the year, for certain times, for a certain amount of time, and then they become incredibly rare later on. So that's some of what this stuff is. So we'll go over from least interesting to most interesting in terms of the built ones, and then we'll move over to the pile of shame that I've collected from the Gundam base in Anime NYC. So this is an entry grade Victory Gundam. This is from Char's Counterattack, which is a Gundam movie that I talked about in the last Mana Potion video. But this is incredibly amazing for an entry grade. If you don't know what an entry grade is and you're kind of new to this kind of hobby of Gunpla, entry grades require no tools. Now, if you're a Warhammer person, you probably have tools and you could build something like this. But entry grade is great for gifts. For about $10, you get a whole model. And this is that. Now, I did use a pair of nippers with this guy, and he looks absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing. He is by far the most beautiful entry grade I've ever seen, and it was actually the first Gunpla that Jonathan built.
Whoever has bingo, please come up and collect your prize. There's an ambulance outside, and Diesel's gone, so let's see what happened. The ambulance left, but he still has not come up from getting food.
Now, I have no idea what he said in that video where he built it, so I assume he said something funny just there, but this was the first Gundam he built. And I put this together because after I saw it, I went, wow, the part separation, the colors, everything is amazing on this guy. It is genuinely an astounding model kit. These guys I will go through together. This is a clear Gundam. You're going to notice that a lot of these P Bandais are actually recolors of other model kits or different versions and variations. So this guy is a clear version of the titular Gundam, the RX-78. This is a Gundam base colored version of the RX-78. The Gundam base ones are usually going to be blue with some off bluish purple and all of that. They'll usually have a Gundam base sticker on them as well. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say here. I think the clear looks great because you're allowed to see all the beautiful intricate details that are hidden away usually on a model kit, which is nice. This last guy is terrible. I hate this model kit. This model kit is terrible. This is technically an entry grade, by the way. You might notice that he's brown. So is he a P Bandai? No, that's not what he is. He is Ecopla. Now, a bunch of you on Twitter asked me, what the hell is that? And so, yeah, this is eco-friendly. The plastic coming out of this smelled really weird. It was really dense and really heavy, and it leaves marks very easily. Now, the reasoning for that is because this was originally made from eggshells, and it's kept in its natural color of eggshell brown. It's really a shame that the eco-friendly line of Gunpla is kind of lacking right now. The runners and the amount of runners you end up left over with that end up just getting, you know, thrown out in the trash here in the States is astounding in the amount of them left behind. Ecopla is really a call for Gundam to become more readily recyclable and easier to dispose of. And this is supposed to help that, right? So this guy's supposed to be biodegradable, all that stuff, but he is just horrible in every sense of the word. This is by far one of the most frustrating ones that I've put together, simply for the markings it's left behind. Usually black leaves really bad marks, but this left worse marks, and I tried to clean it up as best as I could, but you can't win them all, really. Now, if you watch me over on FPS Diesel, you've probably seen me in this, and that is a P Bandai exclusive MA1 jacket from Alpha Industries. I'm kind of into tech wear a little bit. I enjoy it, and so picking up a really interesting looking bomber was super on the radar for me. So this is a Neo Zeon bomber, and it looks great personally. I really dig the way it looks and all of its insignia. I'm slowly working my way through the whole series to do like a whole video on it as like an intro for Warhammer people into that world. So if I'm wrong, I don't know, tell me in the comments. You're going to tell me anyway. Everybody corrected me when I said Char Aznavour's name wrong last time. Okay, anyway, let's go on to the rest of the stuff I bought here. Alright, so I haven't built this yet, but this is another RX-78 P Bandai exclusive. This one is from 2020, the cursed year. Basically, this one's supposed to be themed as an ambassador of Japan, and I thought that was pretty cool. I accidentally pre-ordered this one So now I have one to get rid of later. Some of these have really high resale value, which is really interesting. But this guy's getting built since I damaged the box. All right, this is gonna look really bad after we see all of the ones that I bought. But this is a Beyond Global, and I didn't know what that meant. I picked it up. You're gonna notice with P. Bandai stuff that the box is like monochrome. So it's just gonna be like a color, right? So as a result, you pick the stuff up, and unless you know what color it is beforehand, you're gonna be like, well, I don't really know what this looks like. I'm just gonna pick it up anyway. So this guy has some purple, and I didn't know that until I opened it. So there's that. You're gonna notice that I bought a lot of RX-78, and that's because I'm just collecting different variations of it. I have like a weird love for these like marketed ones where it's like 7-Eleven RX-78. Like that is just, I love that. I don't know why. I like the idea of branded sci-fi stuff. Like I need a bunch of Space Marines that are like monster themed, you know? Oh baby, we are running up quite a tab here. I've never even heard of Gundam Age before I picked up this kit, but I picked it up for a very good deal, so I chose to pick it up. I don't know who these little boys are. I don't know anything about this. But again, this is all clear Gundams. Now, I'm certain the resale value on this is pretty good, but again, this is another one that I'm going to build. I don't know anything about it, but there's 4 of them. Never do this at conventions, by the way. Never just buy something to buy something. Okay, this one I'm actually excited for, mainly because I like the design of this Gundam. It's called the Moon Gundam. And again, it is a clear color one. I'm not opening this one right now, but I do know it is clear, and this is what the Moon Gundam looks like, the regular version. I think it is a very interesting looking kit, and I want to find more weird and obtuse looking ones, and I just think it looks nice, so I got this one. The box is also much bigger than the usual high grade fare. It's much thicker, there's a lot more going on in here, so I am interested to put this one together and just see what's going on that makes it so big compared to the other ones. Now, in my previous video about Gundam, I talked about a must-have, a Gundam I wanted or I would riot, and I got it, but my credit card's not happy. No, sir, it's not. Okay, so everybody, hold on to your pants while I go pick this one up. So you might, okay, hold on. Okay, so this is the, so this is the Perfect Grade Unleashed RX-78. And this is by far the most complicated Gundam you can get. This is like, so there's Perfect Grade, which is like the high end, right? And then there's Perfect Grade Unleashed, which is your pants are going to fall off because it's so complicated. And yeah, this is that. This guy's going to have a full review done on him. We're going to go over all the little intricate details of this. There's going to be a really big comprehensive video on it. So, you know, there's that. I got to be honest, I didn't think I would ever own this. I thought it was impossible to get my hands on, and it was for a long time. I had looked around everywhere. I had asked stores if they could order one. I had done tons of different things to try and get one. And then I show up to Anime NYC, and they have them there. And it was 4 on the shelf, and I bought one. So, I mean, we can do the math on how much money I spent. But I can tell you that my credit score went down, so there's that. So you might have noticed this has been a pretty Gundam-heavy video on something that is trying to help you find hobby deals. Again, the rules for Anime NYC apply to the same as Comic-Con, in that if it's a store that's a mom and pop, try and haggle with them. They're trying to get rid of their inventory anyway, so see what you can do there, right? Try and work out deals. Say, hey, look, I saw it online for this much. Can we do that? And usually, sometimes they'll say yes. Obviously, things like this are not going to happen because that's the Gundam base and they're not going to do that. But it's been primarily Gundam in this video, and I did want to touch on miniature stuff. Now, there is some stuff that is going to be featured in Jonathan videos. He's working on them right now. But for the most part, you're going to see that these conventions seem to have a lot of model kits for Gundam, mainly because it's just more readily available to a lot of people and has a lower barrier to entry most of the time, given that model kits are $15, whereas a group of miniatures from Games Workshop are $60. Even standing in line for the Gundam base, I was talking with the fellow model hobbyists there, and they were saying how it was crazy how I did both Gundam and Warhammer and somehow had money in the bank. And the answer is no, I do not. All this to say, you are going to find miniature stuff there, but it's going to be D&D based. So the stuff that Jonathan picked up is D&D based items. You're really not going to find super particular miniature stuff here. And sometimes you do, it depends. Norse Foundry, for example, was at Anime NYC or Comic-Con. I can't remember, they were in the same building. But Norse Foundry does dice, miniatures, a couple other things. They've worked with a few miniature YouTubers as well. So you might run into somebody like that at a convention that does sell miniatures. Then you can get a nice boutique type of miniature that you wouldn't get somewhere else. For example, Norse Foundry retails these things called Adventurers and Adversaries. They come in these nice little tins, and there is a miniature in here. And basically, they have different styled ones. You get like a Warforged, an orc, a furry type of character. There's a lot of furries in this line, by the way, in case you're one of them. But you can run into stuff like that. And you can run into it at any of these cons, right? So you could definitely find somebody like that. Or you could run into more particular like DM tools that'll make your job easier for you. I'll show a picture of what Jonathan picked up right now on screen. But I did pick up one miniature at Anime NYC. So this is the miniature I picked up. It's the Goth Rocker. And $35 for a single miniature, I mean, what are we doing, Games Workshop? What are we doing? This is insane for a single miniature that I can't even play in game, as far as I know. Somebody might tell me I'm wrong, but it's to my knowledge, commemorative series miniatures are not like for play, right? These are for painting, correct? I'm an orc guy. I like them with green skin. That sounded weird. No, that's true. That's true. I'll admit it. I know what I am. But yeah, I picked up this guy. And of course, if you're traveling and you're in New York City, there's tons of hobby spaces that you can go to. There's Kinokuniya, which is a huge Japanese import store right on 42nd. So if you're just a tourist Andy, you can stop off there and buy Gunpla, manga, hentai, you name it. There's a Games Workshop in the city, but there's also nice little mom and pops that you can go and support as well. Now, Anime NYC, of course, not very miniature heavy, not very D&D heavy. I do recommend you go to it, right? It is very good. It was a great time. I enjoyed myself. Met cool people. That's always awesome. And I plan to go back again. I mean, there's like raves and stuff. How could I not want to go? Okay, so let's talk about where this guy's from. And this is by far the best one that you can go to for con and miniature stuff and board gaming and all that. And it makes sense because it's a gaming convention. PAX. Now, PAX is held all across the country here in the United States. There is PAX West, PAX East, PAX South, and there might be one more. There's PAX Unplugged, which is the board game specific one. And I went to PAX East. I've gone to PAX East every year, and if you'd like to see me, I'm going to be at PAX East in March. I'll be there all 4 days. And so if you want to take a picture, hang out, do whatever, I don't know, hell, even if you want to play a game of Magic, maybe I'll have time. We'll play a game of Magic. I'll bring my cards. But you're going to get the most variety in miniatures, in D&D tools, in miniature tools, in dungeon building tools. There is so much stuff that it is impossible for me to cover, and I only had a set amount of money to spend on things, so I focused on picking up miniatures. So obviously there was the Adventurers and Adversaries, which of course comes in this beautiful little tin, and inside it is actually a gift miniature that I painted. And there we go. I do enjoy him quite a bit. I think he is quite lovely looking, personally, all things considered. There we go. Let's get a closer look at him. Now, the thing about Adventurers and Adversaries is that they're modular miniatures, so any one that you build and put together from the resin kit that you get is going to have multiple parts, right? So they're going to have different tools, different things, and you can choose between, like, a sword and a rose and something else, and you know, you choose between, wait a second, this isn't an Adventures and Adversaries. I've made a severe and constant lapse in my judgment. Turns out I had given away that one already. This guy is not that, and I will leave a link to this miniature creator down below. But Adventurers and Adversaries are going to have different tools, different things on it, and you'll be left over with bits to mix and match with other ones from the line. The idea is that you make your own custom character for D&D, and then you carry them around in this little box, and this is what they live in, and the box has all this stuff to keep it safe in there as well. It's a really great idea for miniatures. Again, I'll leave a link to their service down below in case you want to pick them up. I really do think they're cool. They're a fun thing to do together, and I really like these. I think the idea and concept behind it, you get like a whole miniature in a little box, and I think just the variety it gives you, it's very fun. Sometimes, though, you need to populate your town with some things, or you need some mobs. So again, for D&D, here at PAX, we picked up some monsters and some villagers, and we picked up the whole set. Little did I know these guys were painted, so whoopsies. So I picked up these miniatures. There's 32 in here, and you can get 32 unpainted ones. But I got them painted by accident. Whoopsies. There we go. Not intentional. But there's a very simple paint job on these guys. There's nothing too complicated. But, you know, they're meant to be NPCs. Nothing really crazy, just to populate a village. And, you know, honestly, I don't think I'd have the patience to paint 32 miniatures back to back to back. So this is really awesome, actually, to have them pre-painted. I also didn't pay a lot for these at all. This was very, very cheap. Again, if I can find a link to it, I'll give it. But I think this might have been a convention exclusive thing. But hey, 32 NPCs to populate your villages, towns, and cities, that's awesome. These guys are also plastic in comparison to Adventurers and Adversaries, which was resin. So these guys are really sturdy. So that's great. Now, the monsters are all unpainted, and you know, if you ever wanted to like make a job for yourself, this is one way to be busy forever. Now again, the cost of entry was pretty cheap, and again, I don't know why, but it feels like significantly more miniatures, despite it being the same thing. I mean, you got gnolls, you got skeletons, you got zombies, you got all the basics that you'd need at the start of your adventure. Nothing crazy, no crazy monsters. There's no like, you're not going to get like a beholder or anything insane here, but you'll get the basics that you need to get started on your D&D adventure. So for the forever DMs, maybe this isn't the tool you use, but maybe the pre-painted ones are something you get interested in and pick up. There's also like modular dungeon tiles there. Again, if I can find that, I'll link it in the description. But basically these work like Legos, and you could build different modular dungeons and stuff like that, and they'd all snap together. They were made out of plastic, a really sturdy, interesting tool, and I think that's super cool for people who might be kind of lacking in space to hold like a D&D session with their pals, you know, because these all you compress down and you could just box it away later on, rather than some really nice painted houses that you got to keep out or put somewhere when you're done. PAX is really great for boutique miniatures. There's tons of different little miniature manufacturers there. There's tons of different board game manufacturers, an obscene amount, impossible for me to cover. But again, we're going to go to PAX East, so if there's anything there that seems interesting, please leave a link or comment, or just comment down below, or comment or send me a message on Twitter or whatever. Say, hey, look, this board game looks cool, you should check it out. Or this war game looks cool, you should check it out. So there's stuff like a modular shipbuilding game that looks pretty interesting, and tons of other stuff, right? So There's a lot of miniatures and stuff to sink your teeth into at PAX. And again, much like Anime NYC, there's going to be Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! There's also going to be more like miniature war games going on there as well. Tons of different stuff that you can do and really sink your teeth into if you go into a convention like this. This is a convention where you can spend your time. Not for food, because it's gross, but aside from that, yeah. So speaking of boutique miniatures, you might have seen these guys in some ads from D&D channels. And I actually saw these guys at PAX before I saw any ads. But this is a thing from Hit Point Press. They're publishing it. Hit Point Press and the Deck of Many are doing Humblewood, which is a D&D 5e like location and rule book. I have the rule book actually as well as pretty much the whole line of miniatures. But this is just the one I have in a box, so I figured I'd pull this one out. But basically the concept behind it is like all these cutesy animals that live in a tree, and you know, you basically build a party of your cutesy animals and you guys go on adventures, and it's like not a child-friendly D&D 5e setting, but it is more family-oriented, right? And I think that's really awesome. I think using D&D as a tool with children is something that needs to happen more. And the Humblewood characters are just super cute. So, I mean, I think it's a really cool setting, so I picked it up. I wanted to support it, and I thought it was really, really cool. So these are the Boneyard Birds. So these are more like villains, little evil skeletons, but bird themed, and I think that is also really cute as well. I actually painted one of these guys, so you'll see a picture of the one I painted right here. I really enjoyed the paint job on it. I think they're really great designed miniatures. They're not too complicated. They don't have too many bits and bobs on them that make it just hell on a brush. They're great to paint. So if you can find a way to pick these up, I'd say pick them up. They're just an enjoyable time. Another thing about PAX is the panels. Now, there might be miniature-specific panels that make it much better for you. You're really not going to get miniature or hobby or tabletop at all in terms of panels at any of the other conventions. PAX is going to have that. The schedule and list is incredibly comprehensive, so you can find it for anything. So stuff on how to DM better, stuff on how to paint the miniature, stuff on how to do different things, and this, that, and the other. So there's different ways that you can get involved and really get engaged in the community that is gaming there at PAX. Not to mention, there's also video games there. Generally, there's going to be stuff that hasn't been released yet. So I played plenty of like pre-releases there as well. And obviously, because I have a press pass when I go, they're like, hey, come over to our special press thing and talk to us for a minute. That won't happen to you, but it happens to me. And sometimes, boy, man, Gearbox, I'm sorry. I don't care how much you want me to care about the Borderlands game with the dungeons and the dragons. I don't think it's funny. But generally, if you like gaming in any capacity, you're going to find something to enjoy here. Generally, Nintendo's there. You're going to get tons of junk and garbage, and I did get swag at all these other conventions. But generally speaking, the best swag, the best merch has been from PAX. Except this year with Anime NYC, where I picked up that jacket. That was too much money anyway, but generally speaking, the stuff from PAX is really good. Also, Boston's great. I love New York City, don't get me wrong. It is my city, but Boston's always had a really big special place in my heart. The attitude, which is mean, and the cold weather, which is bad, and the terrible drivers, which are terrible. I love it all. All the confusing roads and all the colleges and all that stuff. So Boston's just a great city to explore as well. Boston is also a hub for indie games and game development, which is why I went to school there for a time. So there's a lot of different ways that if you're a developer, maybe you can get involved in the Boston indie scene and really make a name for yourself. There's tons of different ways to get involved, and I think PAX is a great way for people to do that. Also, tons of indie games there, and you can just walk up to them and play the game, or tons of indie board games there, and you can walk up and just play the game and talk to the developers and really get in depth with these people. And you don't really get that opportunity at a place like Comic-Con or Anime NYC. So spending time with these artists and really getting to know them is super enlightening and great, and you know, they probably feel very grateful for you being there. So there's that. PAX is great. I've gone every year. I'm going again. So if you are there, definitely come along. And I'll definitely be going to Anime NYC next fall. So, you know, if you're there as well, again, you know, hi, say hi. Overall, if you can only choose one convention to go to a year, pick PAX. There's literally no contest. But if you can spring and go to like an anime convention and you're not like cringing at the anime, which, to be frank, I don't watch VTubers or just get like ingrained into anime culture really, but it was nice to experience a community that was very open. Sometimes in miniature painting, especially Warhammer, sometimes people can be a big gatekeepy, but generally speaking, nobody I met was like gatekeepy at all at Anime NYC. People just wanted to talk about Gunpla or anime, or talk about the One Piece being real. And for some reason, there was an Imperial Fist at Anime NYC. And I don't know why he was there, but he was there, protecting the Emperor's grace in the halls of the degeneracy, apparently. I don't know. But yeah, I think right now, the plan this next coming year in 2023 is for Mana Potion Tabletop to go to PAX, and then, like, I don't know, Adepticon, or just take the show to different places to be engaged in the tabletop community and do all of that. So there's definitely places we want to go. Tell us what hobby conventions you think Mana Potion Tabletop should go to. Tell me in the comments. There's tons of stuff I want to know from you guys. So help me out. Let's build a repository of information for the community here. Anyway, I'll check you next time. See you later. That sounded weird. My mouth is dry. Make sure to subscribe, by the way. Keep subscribing. That's great. I like it when you do that.